Hi, I'm Gayla Scrivener, ex-corporate girl and now work-from-anywhere adventure seeker. Creating a work-from-anywhere lifestyle isn't without its challenges, but those challenges certainly don't overshadow all the many benefits. What breaks my heart is seeing folks stuck and unhappy in a career and lifestyle when they want more out of life. I believe that we all have the opportunity to create the life of our dreams and earn a living in fun and creative ways to make our dream lifestyle a reality. You too can experience wonderful adventure and freedom as you live life on your own terms. In this weekly podcast, I share experiences when it comes to growing a lifestyle business through guest interviews, content marketing experience and perspectives, virtual leadership lessons, and I'll even throw in some travel adventures. My hope is through all the interviews, the tips, advice, and personal experience, you'll be inspired and motivated to keep going and creating your dream lifestyle. Life's an adventure. There's no time but the present to live life to the fullest. Well, hi there, and welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here. I've been thinking, there are so many elements or details, if you will, when it comes to developing your brand. We at Scrivener Solutions, we are just down deep in the weeds and everything, and we help our clients be able to lift out from the weeds so that they can see and plan and strategize and build their business. In today's episode, I thought I would talk about one particular detail, and that is using a company branded email address. Now, granted, most of the time when clients come to us or Scrivener Solutions for help, they already have a company branded email address. So I'm not sure what stage you're in growing your lifestyle business. If you're just starting out and maybe just dipping your toe in and seeing if, hey, this is what I want to do, I'm just going to say, if you're not just jumping in and using a company branded email address, then you should really listen up. Now, if you already got that covered, a word, thank you. Hey, wait a second. That's 2 words. Thank you. And congratulations. You may just want to skip this show and just join me next week. That's perfectly okay. Or you can listen up and hear a kind of an unusual story that I had when it came to free email account. But anyway, if you're growing your own lifestyle business or your own personal brand, your own small business, and you're still using a free email account like Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, oh my gosh, I even saw a very old AOL email recently. Any free service. If you're using that email address as your business email, it's time to stop. Yes. Now, I'm talking to you if you're using something like, your name, Jane Doe, at gmail.com. If you think it's okay to put your company name in front of the gmail.com, like ABC Company at Gmail, no, don't do that. Gmail is the address that I see most often because it's so quick and easy to set up, and Google is such a giant. Even if you have your company name or your full name in front of that @ sign, the little A with the circle around it, and after the @ sign, there's Gmail, Yahoo, Mail, Ymail, whatever that service is. If you're using it on your website, on your business cards, any other documentation, it's time to stop and make the itty-bitty tiny investment of creating a real company email address. It's a tiny investment. I'll emphasize that. It's a tiny investment. It's an investment like this that shouldn't be ignored. Even if you don't have a website set up, but you want to secure a URL for later, for when you're ready to make that investment to build your website, just go ahead and secure your URL so that you can set up your business email address, and then you can work on getting your website set up. I'm going to be honest with you. I know this is probably one of my biggest pet peeves, And I may just be ranting on this show. And I apologize right up front. But when I see a person who has invested in a website and has a company name and is pouring their heart and soul, so they think, into this company, they're working so hard. And even if it's a personal brand website, they've invested in that URL, invested in developing a logo, put all that thought into what their brand should look like and how they want to serve their customers or their clients, and they are still using a free email account as their contact email. It stands out like a sore thumb. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry if I'm calling you out on this little rant of mine. But here's the impression either missing or ignoring this tiny detail does to your overall brand. By opting to continue to use a free unbranded email with your business, it leaves the impression of a lack of longevity and professionalism. You already have invested so much time and effort in having a business website address, a business URL. Why not invest that tiny bit more to make everything official and have a business email address as well? Besides, many hosting plans just include email, and I've seen it just overlooked. Some hosting plans do nickel and dime you to death, and that's just so frustrating. And you'll need to pay extra, but the investment is worth it. It is a legitimate business expense. Now, I use Bluehost, and I started with Bluehost way back when I opened our business. In fact, I started it with our Been There Doing That travel blog just to see how all this website hosting, that's what I started doing first before I actually created the Scrivener Solutions URL and had decided on that company name. And when the day I registered my Scrivener Solutions domain, I created the email addresses. I just created my email address. Even though it was just me, I created a couple of generic ones like info@scrivenersolutions.com and billing@scrivenersolutions.com. And like I said, at the time, it was just me. I didn't have a team yet, but I was thinking ahead. I was thinking ahead that, hey, someday I'm going to have people helping me with these little different departments. And I don't know when that someday would be, but I'm setting up my systems early on. And I put that info@scrivenersolutions.com out there on the website so that when I brought in a team member, even though at first all those emails are forwarded to me, when I brought in that team member and added them, I can just simply change the forwarding and they can help me be responsible for those messages that come in on those types of emails. And it certainly comes in handy when you have role changes or turnover and things like that. So it's really important to kind of think ahead. You can have a couple of generic email addresses. So if you're still sticking with me and you already have a company branded email address and you're sticking with me because I had mentioned that I had a bit of an extreme example that I'm going to kind of rant about, and this extreme example just shows how unprofessional a free email account can appear. And it's a true story. And actually, I've held off from even telling this story for such a long, long time. Because I know my mom listens to this show, and well, this story takes place in quite a difficult time for our little family. And so I've held off. I haven't told very many people, but I thought it was such an important experience on how a free email account made me feel in such a difficult time that could have been avoided, and just put a I don't know, a black mark in my mind. And I don't think it's just me. I don't think it's just me. I think that people see, and there's some underlying reassuredness of longevity and professionalism when you pay attention to details such as this. So here it goes. I'm going to go ahead and tell you my story. But almost 3 years ago, my brother passed away under hospice care in his home. And my parents, sister-in-law, and I were blessed to be there with him when he left this world. I'm so glad that we were there, and we were all able to support each other and be with him to see him off. And as you can imagine, it was an extremely emotional and difficult time. And even now, when I talk about anything or mention his name, I get a little teary-eyed. But upon his passing, I was the one who worked with the hospice nurse as she helped us find a provider for cremation. Well, my brother passed away in the middle of the night. And with the hospice nurse assistance, she helped direct me to a local crematorium. I never had done this sort of thing before. And not only was I grieving, I was lost in what the whole process was or is to do in this type of situation. And on top of that, I was exhausted because for days we had very, very little sleep. My brother and his wife lived in a suburb of Chicago, and that was totally out of my element. I'm unfamiliar with the area. And I grew up in a small town, and a suburb of Chicago is huge to me. But I grew up in a small town, and there was only one funeral home, and we knew who owned it. It was, they're a part of our community. They're our friends. And anytime there was a funeral, we just know who to contact. It was the Hackelmans. They helped us through it. But there in Chicago, I was trying to help make arrangements, and it felt very uncomfortable to have strangers taking my brother away, and I'd never see him again. And it was the middle of the night phone call to the funeral home. That was okay. The person was kind and helpful, and honestly, it was a bit of a blur because at the time I was just numb that, it was over. I just had to do what I needed to do and make arrangements and have those arrangements to set in motion. Well, then the next morning, my family and I had questions, and I needed to reach out to the funeral home because we didn't know what the process was. And, I guess there's different state laws. It's just something that, like I said, it was a blur. And I found the funeral home, and there was no answer. So naturally, I left a message. And then I started perusing their website more closely and trying to see if the answers that we had, which seemed pretty basic on what is the process, they should be there on their website. And when I was perusing their website, I noticed something. I noticed that they were using a Gmail address. What on earth was what was going through my head? Now, I know this is my pet peeve, but a funeral home where I'd expect the highest level of professionalism was using Gmail, for crying out loud. Are they new? Are they legit? What aren't... Then I was like, why aren't they calling me back? It's been hours since I left this message. Oh, at least this was what was going on in my mind at the time. And I might have been going through, going off the deep end just a little bit because at the time I was, grieving. At the time, minutes may have seemed like hours, and I honestly don't remember how long we waited for a phone call back. I remember feeling this general upsettedness. I don't even know if that's a word, but I was in general upset that we may have let my brother go to an unreputable company. I was going a little bit off the deep end, and I know I was, and I know I was overreacting in my head. I know that it was grief that was not making me think the most rationally, but nevertheless, that little detail put a ding in their reputation and credibility of that funeral home in my mind. I didn't mention it to my parents or sister-in-law, but I do remember this. My husband, Robert, couldn't be with us, and he was back home taking care of things at the home front. But I do remember going outside and calling him and walking up and down the block, just telling him and ranting what I thought of this unprofessionalism of this funeral home, and that I just hope that they were reputable people and that they are taking care of my brother respectfully. I don't get worked up like that very often, and I usually keep my cool, but this just really bothered me. Like I said, this is an extreme example of how a tiny detail of using a free email for your contact information can leave a mark on your professionalism. Now you may be thinking, hey, what's the big deal? I'm just starting or just trying this new business out. I'm just trying, feeling the waters, dipping my toes and seeing if this business is really going to work. Why go to the trouble, the expense, and the headache and setting up a company without getting the mindset of, hey, I'm going all in? Why not get that company branded email? You may be thinking, well, if things work out, I'll do it later. Why not do it at the very beginning? Here's the thing. My philosophy is that, first of all, it's not very much expense-wise or time-wise. Second of all, the simple act of creating your company branded email puts you in the right mindset of thinking that you're going to make this business work. If you're just on the fence about it and you're like, nah, that tiny detail, that's okay, it's not like you're all in. It's almost like a little ding. It's like, it may not work. Another thing to think about is that you get your mindset going that you believe that your business is going to be around for a long time. If you believe that, then your customers are going to believe that as well. You're setting things up right. You're also leaving the impression to your prospects and your clients that you're here to stay, but it helps subconsciously with establishing trust. Not only that, when you're using your company branded email and giving it to others for your personal and professional reasons as a means of contact, you are imprinting your branding on them. It's all subconscious type stuff. I don't know how many times I get the question when I give out my Scrivener Solutions email address to someone and somebody asks me, well, what is Scrivener Solutions? It sparks a good conversation that could lead to other things. You just never know. Honestly, when I get an email address and I will go research someone, see what their website is, and it's super helpful. Thanks for sticking around with me for the entire show, because if you've made it this far with my little rant, then congratulations. I appreciate that. These little details do matter, and sometimes we forget that. And I just wanted you to know, hey, if you've got that covered, great, you're all in, and there may be a few little improvements on when and where and your processes and your systems on how you use it, because our personal and professional life really do intermingle, especially when you're an entrepreneur. So thanks for staying with me through the entire show. Be sure to join me next week as gutsy leadership guru Sheila Cornea joins me. She is an amazing woman who I met a couple of years back at a conference, and we recently reconnected. Her insights on leadership are amazing, and I know that you'll love to meet her. So be sure to join next week. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd be honored if you would. Now, if you'd like to share any positive comments and rate the show, well, that's appreciated as well. Until next time, have a fantastic week.